Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in to my second Fantasy Football 2022 video, talking this time about my top 5 sleepers for 2022. So yesterday I did my, top 5 players I would avoid drafting or busts. Now we're going with the guys that picked later in the draft. Some of these guys even undrafted in most early preseason mock drafts. These guys are phenomenal value. I love rookies, guys. Every single year, rookies get undervalued. It happened last year with Jamar Chase when I was screaming in the preseason for everyone to draft him. He made the comment about the ball size, the football size. Everyone was clowning him. I said draft Jamar Chase. Nobody listened to me, but guys, we've got 6. It's really 6 guys that I really like because I wanted to include someone else. So quickly, coming in at number 6 on my list, Tony Pollard. You can get him right now in round 7 of most early season mock drafts in 12-team leagues. By the way, guys, these rankings are all based off of 1-point PPR. And Tony Pollard, you take a look, 719 rushing yards last year, just 2 touchdowns. He's due for some positive touchdown regression, in my opinion. Also, 5.5 yards per carry, finished 5th in the NFL last year. And I had Zeke as one of my top 5 players I would avoid drafting because of this guy. Zeke's coming up. The Cowboys very likely will cut him after this next season. They want to win, and they don't care about Zeke's feelings. This is it for Zeke. His very likely last year with the Cowboys, at least last year with this contract, they're going to do whatever it takes to win. It would not surprise me at all if Tony Pollard was getting the majority of these snaps by mid-season. And Pollard also is really good out of the backfield catching passes. If he's playing 70 to 80% of the snaps later in the season, he's going to get some great PPR numbers. And guys, if you're drafting Tony Pollard in the 7th or 8th round, you're thinking to yourself, he's not a guy I'm starting week 1 or week 2. Zeke's going to be there. He'll probably get half the snaps later in the season. This is an investment pick, like a lot of these picks are that I'm going to be talking about. They're investments for later in the season. Tony Pollard is going to look a lot better in week 6, week 7 than he is opening weekend. You draft him in the 7th round. You can leave him on your bench week 1, week 2, week 3 when he's probably only getting half the snaps. But as the season goes on, Zeke, we don't know. Maybe he gets injured. I'm not saying it's going to happen. But Zeke, he's got a lot of tread on his tires. I like Tony Pollard to finally explode, get a 1,000-yard season, and maybe get 7 or 8 rushing touchdowns. Be a real good value pick in the 7th round. Moving to number 5, it is Dallas Goedert, the tight end for the Philadelphia Eagles, who is currently going late round 6, round 7. I've even seen him go as late as round 9 in some of these mocks. This is the late round tight end I am currently targeting for a number of reasons. Number 1, I think this dude's just a really good football player. He's got big size, he's mobile, but he's also quick. And you take a look last year, 830 yards, really good for a tight end, but only 4 touchdowns. He's another guy I expect to get more red zone targets. People say, oh, A.J. Brown's there now. It's going to cut into his target share, but I think it's going to help them get to the red zone more, and maybe we see a few more Dallas Goedert touchdowns. The one real question mark with Jalen Hurts is, can he, throw for 25, 30 touchdowns? We know he likes to get rushing touchdowns, which would hurt a guy like Dallas Goedert, but I think positive, he's going to get some more touchdowns. He's just a good player in general. If he's your starting tight end and you're getting a value like 8th or 9th round where you're drafting him, I think that's fine for a starting tight end. Personally, playing in a decent offense, I really like Dallas Goedert. He's number 5 on my list. Moving to number 4, this is a guy I loved as a rookie. Unfortunately, he hasn't even played a game. Travis Etienne, love him in PPR leagues. The Jaguars' backfield is wide open. Now, he is a guy that is going in round 5. So there will have to be an investment. And he's a guy that you're probably, if you're in a 12-team league, you're starting at your flex position week 1, which I would feel comfortable with as long as we see him in the preseason and he's getting significant snaps. Worst case scenario, he's going to catch 4 or 5 passes and be the third down back. So there'll be a nice floor for Travis Etienne because he's such a great pass catcher. But I also expect him to get touches rushing the football. Again, the preseason is going to be huge when it comes to Etienne, but I'm gambling. This was a guy they invested a high second-round pick on. Or excuse me, was he a first-round pick? He was either an early second or a late first round. I think he might have been a late first round pick. This is a guy that the Jaguars invested heavily into. They want something for the return. The Jaguars' backfield is completely wide open for him to take over at least the pass catching duties. He's a guy I would feel comfortable as long as I see him in the preseason, starting him at my flex position week 1 in 1-point PPR leagues. Travis Etienne, you're getting a potential number 1 type running back with a 5th round value, and he's going to have fresh legs coming off that injury. Getting him in round 5, I love the value, Travis Etienne. Also, an improved offense overall with Trevor Lawrence getting a little better. You would think his sophomore season, along with the offensive weapons they brought in, Christian Kirk and others, the offensive line shoring that up a little bit. So we'll see with the Jaguars, but I do like Travis Etienne Jr. in my number 3 spot, guys. In my number 4 spot. Moving to number 3, it's going to be a rookie, and it is Garrett Wilson. Now, Garrett Wilson is simply just a superstar, and I understand people will say there's a lot of mouths to feed in that Jets offense. There's a lot of question marks. How good is Zach Wilson? Can he facilitate an elite wide receiver season for Garrett Wilson? I think he can. And again, guys, Garrett Wilson's going in round 8, round 9 of these 12-team mock drafts. This is not a guy you're starting week 1. This is another Amon-Ra Brown situation. Like I said last year when Amon-Ra St. Brown was going undrafted in basically every 12-team league, I said to get this guy, I had a league with my fans, and I mean, they'll tell you, I was crushing people in it. I had Jamar Chase, I had Amon-Ra St. Brown. I draft rookies because they're undervalued every single year. Garrett Wilson is undervalued. I'm not hoping for an injury from Corey Davis, but he tends to get injured. Elijah Moore is decent, but he's not going to command a ridiculous target share. Garrett Wilson is simply a superstar number 1 receiver in the NFL. You can get him in round 8, round 9. Put him on your bench. Give him a few weeks to get his feet wet in the NFL. And then week 6, week 7, he'll be giving you 17 points in PPR leagues. He's catching 7 passes for 110 yards and a touchdown per week. That's my expectation mid-season for Garrett Wilson. These are guys we draft and we don't play right away. You're not going to play Garrett Wilson week 1. We're drafting him in the 8th, 9th round. We're getting value for him, and then we're deploying him. It's the exact thing I did with Amon-Ra St. Brown, guys. I'm telling you, these rookies, it's amazing. Garrett Wilson, number 3, biggest sleeper for 2022. Moving to number 2, it's another rookie, and it is another receiver. It is David Bell, who is currently going undrafted in many 12-team leagues right now. Absolutely insane value. David Bell is a superstar receiver. It was so disappointing to see him falling to the 3rd round. And guys, we got intel today on Deshaun Watson possibly getting suspended anywhere from 2 to 8 games. I think he ends up getting suspended for the first 6. And David Bell, you're drafting David Bell in the last round of your draft. Oh my God. Personally, I won't be doing that. I'm going to be drafting David Bell a little bit before that so I can make sure I get him. But you're drafting David Bell very late in your draft. You're putting him on the bench. Stash him away. Stash him away for a few weeks. This guy with Deshaun Watson later in the season, he is going to be an absolute steal. He's going to be a must-start by week 10. David Bell will be a must-start by week 10. He's the number 2 wide receiver. I mean, you could say Donovan Peoples-Jones, but guys, I'll be honest, David Bell is just better than Donovan Peoples-Jones if we're being completely honest. He's their number 2 receiver. And then we know Amari Cooper is the number 1. So Amari Cooper draws all the best cornerbacks, and David Bell is sitting there with Deshaun Watson. Oh my God. Guys, if I do 100 drafts this year, David Bell will be on 100 of my teams. I'm just being honest with you. I'll draft him in the 9th round. I don't really care. So David Bell, an absolute superstar with the Browns. He's a guy, we're not playing him week 1. We don't have to play him week 1. These are sleepers. We're drafting him late. We're getting absurd value. Amon-Ra St. Brown last year. Guys, I'm telling you, the rookies have crazy value. Another guy not on this list, Drake. I would be fine if people drafted Drake London. Yeah, draft Drake London. These rookies are going to have great value. But David Bell is number 2 on my list. But guys, there can only be one, my biggest sleeper. And part of the reason, this is a running back. We know how valuable running backs are in fantasy football. It is Tyler Allgeier, the 5th round running back out of BYU who went to the Atlanta Falcons. This has the makings of probably one of the best picks you'll see in any draft in terms of fantasy football. Horrible team, no running back depth. They're going to be out of it by week 10. There's, this is a situation where Allgeier is going to be getting 20 touches per game. He's going to be a borderline RB1 by week 11. Atlanta's going to be out of the playoffs. They're going to want to play their rookie. There is nobody else to stop him. I Googled the Atlanta Falcons running back depth, and they had Cordero Patterson listed as the number 1 running back, guys. Allgeier was 3rd on the depth chart behind Damian Williams. Really? Guys, this is just too easy. You're drafting Allgeier in the last round, David Bell in the second to last round. Both, oh my God. This year, it's going to be amazing. So Allgeier, very demanding position. When it comes to running backs, he's a guy, he's unstartable for the first 4 or 5 weeks unless an injury happens. But once the Falcons are 2-9, maybe they'll also play Desmond Ridder. We'll have to see. But they're going to be out of it relatively quick, and they're going to want to get a look at their young rookie running back, and he's going to be getting 20 to 25 carries a game. And it also helps that he's a beast. Watch him at BYU. Everyone said he was a ridiculously great value pick by the Atlanta Falcons in the 5th round. So I absolutely love Tyler Allgeier as my number 1 sleeper. I'm going to be drafting him in every draft. I'm going to be drafting David Bell in every draft. I'm going to be drafting Garrett Wilson in every draft. Travis Etienne, no, because he's going to be going in the 5th round. I mean, someone else could pick him. Dallas Goedert. There's other tight ends available, but I just like Goddard overall. He's a beast. He's going to have a breakout year where he gives you 1,100 yards and double-digit touchdowns. That's what I'm talking about. Didn't he have 4 touchdowns last year? What a fluke that is. He's going to have way more touchdowns this year. He'll finish as a top 5 fantasy tight end, in my opinion. And then Tony Pollard, that's the whole Zeke thing. We got to pull the plug at some point. Nothing against Zeke, but they're going to go with the best player midseason. And I will say Pollard, it's a high investment to make in the 7th round. And I'm not the thing is, if Zeke gets injured, you hit you just hit the jackpot with Tony Pollard in that offense. We're not hoping Zeke gets injured. I hope Zeke is healthy. But it's a situation with Pollard. If he's there in the 7th round, it's very situational based. If I already have 2 or 3 good running backs, I'm fine with taking Tony Pollard because I think the Cowboys are going to want to use Pollard more with this being Zeke's final year. There's no appeasement. I'm not saying they were appeasing Zeke before, but it was kind of a situation where you're stuck with Zeke. Now it's at the situation you really don't need to do that. You can just go with Pollard. If he's having the best game, give him 25 carries. At this point, you got to do what you got to do if you're the Cowboys. You've got Dak on a massive deal. You've got to win. So guys, these were my, top 6, because I had to include Tony Pollard. My top 6 fantasy sleepers for 2022. And guys, make sure you're following me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description. I'm, of course, the Depressed Ginger. Thank you for watching.